Hello there, class. Faisal here. It is a May 19th, and we are coming at you with our video of the day. And we're going to be starting by talking about your grades. So, by now, if you've submitted your work by Monday afternoon, you should have gotten it graded already by me. I've sent them back as soon as I've been finishing them, so that should be done. Um, so I did it through Google Classroom. First of all, sorry that all of the grades are. It says missing in Google Classroom. Nothing's missing. If you see a comment by me and all the comments and everything like that, it means it was graded. The grade is in the comment section. Google Classroom doesn't really cooperate with the way I like to grade things, with like splitting things into two. So I had to do it that way, but don't panic just because it says missing, right? Your grade is there and it's recorded. You don't have to do anything. All right. So look at your grade in my comments, and I did also leave a rubric, which hopefully was useful. Now, a few comments about your stuff. Let's first talk about the P word, plagiarism. So, Google Classroom is nice because it gives me an automatic scanning thing, right? So when you guys hand things in to me, it automatically scans your stuff, right? I don't have to do anything, right? And it shows me, hey, this sentence in the middle of this paragraph has something from the CBC or from Vox or whatever it is. So, I highlighted this every time I saw it, and I can tell you guys, if you plagiarize, it is a 0. Meow. But what if it's just one sentence? So, this time, if there was only one sentence, and a lot of you there was only one sentence that had that, I didn't give you a 0 this time, right? Consider this a sort of warning shot, right? Because it's, one sentence out of an entire paragraph or over the course of 3 paragraphs. Okay, I'm not going to hit you with a 0 for that. But if I see it again, right, even one sentence in an essay or anything like that, then you're going to be looking at some zeros, all right? Because, look, plagiarism is a serious thing. If you do it at the college or university level, you're going to have trouble. So don't copy even one sentence, okay? Meow. I won't. Very good. This is a serious matter. Don't be cats. All right. Other issues, grammar issues. Look at my comments carefully, right? I tried to highlight problems as I saw them. We had things as everything from capitalization to commas to anything like that. That's something you need to look at, right? This is hard for me to really do over the internet because it's much easier to help someone with grammar in person, but obviously we can't do that right now. But what you need to do absolutely is get your commas under control, get rid of sentence fragments, look for capitalization, look for commas, everything like that. All right. So that's what. Hey, wait. That's what I need you guys to look at. So look at my comments very carefully. Now, these are your grades that I've given you. Your first 2 grades. All right. All right. You wait. See. As I was saying, these are your grades that I've given you. And look, let me be blunt. Don't ask me to just raise your grade just because, right? I often hear students, both in person and through emails tell me, "Well, I need a higher grade than that." And guess what? I know you need a higher grade than that. Everyone needs a higher grade, right? Everyone taking grade 12 college or university needs their grades to be as high as possible because they have applications. So I know you need a higher grade, right? Don't tell me you need a higher grade because, well, guess what? I'm well aware of that. But the way you get higher grade is by taking my feedback into account and fixing whatever issue you have with commas or prepositions or topic sentences or awkward phrasing or whatever it is, right? And getting those issues under control so you get good grades, right? uh, don't ask me to give you a grade because I'm a nice guy, right? Because that is just going to be a big no. I'm not going to be a nice guy in that regard, right? I'm going to give you the grade you should have, right? I know you would all love me over there if I just was like, all right, 20 out of 20 for everyone, right? And you'd all be like, oh, yeah, he's the best teacher ever. No, that's not how you become the best teacher ever, right? You become the best teacher ever by grading fairly. So what you can do is you can ask questions, right? So if you want to ask me about things like, well, can you explain comma splices again? Or can you explain about subject-verb agreement a bit more? That I can do, right? So that's the direction I would push you in. Don't just be like, well, you gave me a B plus, I deserve an A plus, right? No, that's not how we're going to do things. The idea of a grade is to let you improve, right? So please take the time to read what I wrote and think about what I said and ask me any questions you need so that when we do our essays, right, which are coming up, it will be a lot simpler, a lot easier. So, let's go to the flying machine then, which is our first short story that you guys hopefully read over the weekend, right? The short story that I posted on the website, right? Where is it? Here it is. Yes. Uh, so this short story by Ray Bradbury is an interesting one because, it might seem like it's about China and all of that and emperors, but it's actually about something else entirely. And well, let's figure out what that is. So, the protagonist of the story is this emperor guy who, as we talked about on Friday, does not like change, right? He's quite happy with the way things are going in his kingdom, right? At the beginning of the story, he tells a story where he says how his miracles, right? When his servant asks about miracles, he says, the miracle is the air is sweet this morning, and this tea is good in my mouth, right? Surely that is a miracle. So that tells us right away that, he likes simple things, right? And then, as you read in the story, he sees this man in the sky who is flying, right? Through this flying machine, right? And this man up there, right, let me just see this. This is at the bottom of the first page. Right? Here it is. And in the sky, laughing so high that you could hardly hear him laugh, was a man. And the man was clothed in bright papers and reeds to make wings, and a beautiful yellow tail, and he was soaring all about like the largest bird in a universe of bird, like a new dragon in a land of ancient dragons. The man called down to them from high in the cool winds of morning, I fly, I fly. The servant waved to him. Yes, yes. The Emperor Yuan didn't move. Instead, he looked at the Great Wall of China. So, before we talk about the Emperor, this guy doesn't have any bad intentions up there, right? He wants to fly because he thinks it would be cool to fly, right? He would be able to fly around and be with the birds and everything like that. So he has no bad intentions or anything. And by the way, he's supposed to be in something like this, right? That's roughly what, I mean, I don't know if it's exactly what they would see, but roughly something like that, right? A flying machine made out of paper and wood and bamboo and all of that, right? That's roughly what the machine is supposed to be, right? Obviously, this is made up, right? I don't think a machine like that could really fly, but that's what the flying machine is supposed to look like. So the Emperor is looking up at this thing and he waits for the guy to come down, and right away he says, this is on the second page, once he meets this guy who is flying, the Emperor clapped his hands. Ho, guards! The guards came running. Hold this man. The guards seized the flyer. Call the executioner, said the Emperor. What's this? Cried the flyer, bewildered. What have I done? He began to weep so that the beautiful paper apparatus rustled. So, the Emperor takes one look at the sky, flying around in the sky, and he says, all right, get get the executioner. We're going to kill this guy. And the big question that we need to answer here before we go on is, well, why? Why does he want to do that? So, in terms of why the Emperor has this man killed, well, we've got two reasons, right? First, we've got his stated reason, which is because he has this idea that someone's going to take rocks and drop them on the Great Wall of China, right? So, let's see here. What does he say? He says at the bottom of the second page right here, I do not fear you yourself, but I fear another man. What man? Some other man who, seeing you, will build a thing of bright papers and bamboo like this, but the other man will have an evil face and an evil heart, and the beauty will be gone. Is this man I fear? Why? Who is to say that some day just such a man, in just such an apparatus of paper and reed, might not fly in the sky and drop huge stones upon the Great Wall of China, said the Emperor. Right? So basically, he's afraid of the Great Wall of China getting bombed by, one of these flying machines. Now, you might look at that thing and think, well, hang on, wait a minute. I remember how physics works in my class. If that guy in the flying machine were holding a giant rock, that thing isn't going to fly, right? So how could that even be? But, well, this is the Emperor's idea, right? That someone is going to essentially bomb the Great Wall of China here, right? And, cause all sorts of destruction and all of that. All right, so that is his first problem, right? But there's another thing that I want to call your attention to. So, this emperor does not like change, right? Look at his invention here. Oh, where is it? Here. The emperor is an inventor too, and he's got this thing, right? So let's see here. This is from the middle of the second page. One moment, said the emperor. He turned to a nearby table, upon which sat a machine that he himself had created. The emperor took a tiny golden key from his own neck, fitted his key to the tiny, delicate metal, and wound it up. Then he set the machine going. The machine was a garden of metal and jewels. Set in motion, the birds sang in tiny metal trees, wolves walked through miniature forests, and tiny people ran in and out of sun and shadow, fanning themselves with miniature fans, listening to tiny emerald birds, and standing by impossibly small but tinkling fountains. So, that thing right there is what we call he has a clockwork toy or a wind up toy, right? Some of you with kids might have something maybe not as big but as similar, right? Where you wind something up, right? You wind it, and it either move or go around or whatever it is, right? It's a little wind up toy, right? Clockwork. So, let's think about what kind of toy that is, right? Maybe I could even show you. So, wind-up toys are things like this, right? See this little frog toy that I found on the internet here? That's a wind-up toy, right? What it does is you wind up the switch, right? You turn, and what you're going to see is, well, your toy, or in the Emperor's case, his little town, is going to move like that, right? It moves in the exact same way over and over and over. Nothing changes. Nothing is going to be different. Nothing surprising. No one, the frog isn't going to suddenly start to fly. So everything will be stable and the same all the time, right? So, in terms of the, I guess you could say, symbolism of his invention, that's what we are looking at there, right? Because the emperor's little toy shows a society where everything always happens in the exact same way, right? So what this tells us about the emperor himself is something very simple here. The emperor hates change, right? He hates anything that's different, right, from what it is right now, right? So that's why he hates the idea of this flying machine guy, uh, flying around, right? He hates that because for him that's something dangerous and it's something that's going to cause problems for the kingdom, right? And you'll see, at the end of the story, this is our climax, by the way. The emperor says, "Off with his head," said the emperor. The executioner whirled his silver axe. "Burn the kite and the inventor's body and bury their ashes together," said the emperor. The servants retreated to obey. The emperor turned to his hand-servant who had seen the man flying. "Hold your tongue, it was all a dream, a most sorrowful and beautiful dream. And that farmer in the distant field who also saw, tell him it would pay him to consider it only a vision. If ever the word passes around, you and the farmer die within the hour. You are merciful, emperor." "No, not merciful," said the old man. Beyond the garden wall he saw the guards burning the beautiful machine of paper and reeds that smelled of the morning wind. He saw dark smoke climb into the sky. No, only very much bewildered and afraid. So, the guy is afraid of this man's invention, and he goes ahead and has it burned for that reason, right? So that's what the emperor does, and that's what's going on here. Now, in order to understand this story, we have to understand a particular word here, right, which I've got up there, called symbolism. So, symbolism is a very important concept. It is when an object or a thing in a story represents an idea. So, in this case, we've got this flying machine, which is this innovation that is going to change the society and everything like that. And what we can say very clearly is that, well, it's a new kind of technology. So the flying machine represents technology, right? And the emperor is rejecting that technology. He's afraid of this new technology, right? So the flying machine represents technology. And this is where the story gets kind of interesting, right? So Ray Bradbury is an American writing in the 1960s, right? So he's not Chinese, first of all, right? He's not even a little Chinese. Yeah, he was an American. And he shut up, Google thing. He Ray Bradbury was someone who was writing within that American context, right? So he is writing at a time when new technology like bomber jets or indeed nuclear weapons are being built, right? This is in the 1950s and 60s, I should say. So, this story might seem to be about China and, uh, 400 AD, but when you think about the symbolism of the story, well, then it takes on an entirely different meaning. Because the main fear people had in the 1960s, or 1950s and 60s, was nuclear war, right? So, in terms of the symbolism of the flying machine, you could say that the flying machine might symbolize nuclear bombs, right? And that sort of throws a wrench into our plans here, right? So that's what makes this story kind of interesting. Because if you look at it as just a story about an emperor in China and everything like that, obviously the emperor is being kind of crazy, right? a bamboo paper flying machine cannot possibly drop giant rocks on the Great Wall of China. That makes no sense. But when you think about the symbolism, that's when the story starts to get a little bit interesting. So that brings us to our short story questions of the day, right? So it's going to be this one right here. Oh, can you guys see that? Yeah. Okay. Let me put it in the document. There we go. So this you'll answer this through the website, right? So just click on questions on the website. Please don't email it to me, right? Just send it to me through the website. But the question is this: the flying machine. Try again. The emperor has the flying man killed because he was afraid of his invention. Considering the symbolism of the flying machine, do you think the emperor's decision made any sense? So, the key to this question are these three words, considering the symbolism. So, again, symbolism was when an object or thing in a story represents an idea, right? So, when we think about symbolism, what we're saying is that the flying machine is not just about, a bamboo and paper thing in 200 AD, right? What we're thinking about is, well, the idea of technology, right? So, if I were to give a big hint for this question, would be: are there types of of technology that we should be afraid of? Right? Should we be like the Emperor, afraid of things like nuclear weapons, or afraid of things like, I don't know, cell phones or new types of technology? Right? Are there things we should be afraid of? Right? That's what I mean when I say consider the symbolism. Right? So don't talk to me about, uh, paper planes. Talk to me about the symbolism, the ideas behind it. All right. So that's your first question, and you're going to put it into the Google Classroom. Remember what I said? I'm going to give you guys 4 stories. Each story will have one question like this. Each question will be worth 5 marks, and that will all come together to basically be a replacement for your short story test, right? So that's sort of my big idea for this thing. All right, so you will answer that question and submit it in for today. So for tomorrow, it's Wednesday, so we're gonna have a Google meeting at 2 p.m. Right? So I'm moving it back 1 hour because we're interfering with some other classes, right? So I'm gonna just move it back to 2 o'clock, right? Tomorrow, and we will be talking about the flying machine, and we also talk about our next story, which I'm going to be posting, called "The Maiden Wiser Than the Tsar." Right? So there won't be a video tomorrow, right? But I will post this story for you guys to read, so you can read the next story after you're finished with the flying machine. And then we'll talk about it both tomorrow during the video call, and then on Thursday even more. Maybe I'll post the question for Maiden Wiser Than the Tsar after we meet tomorrow. It will depend on our conversation. But nevertheless, tomorrow, Google meeting, 2 p.m. I hope you all can make it. And if you're confused about, symbolism or the flying machine or anything like that, we can talk in the Google meeting. Until then, I hope you all had a very good long weekend, and I will hear from you all tomorrow.